Hey guys, my name is Alex and today I am reacting to another sex tips video. This one is by Amy North. This is the what is it called? 5 tips to rock his world in bed. Are these tips good? Are they bad? Who knows? We're just gonna have to find out, aren't we?
Hey ladies, Amy here, and today I want to talk sex with you. I know it's sad to say that if you aren't sexually satisfying your man in bed, then he may leave you or look elsewhere for the sort of fulfillment, but it's true. Just like you have your needs in a relationship, so does he.
Dang, is she just throwing shade at all those guys out here?
Now, before I share with you the 5 tips that will have him obsessed with you, let me first ask you a question. When it comes to sex, do you prefer to do it in the morning when you first wake up or at night before bed? To answer, click the little icon in the top right corner of this video and choose your preference.
Whoa, a poll. I feel like I should be adding that to my videos. Do you like communicating about sex before you have sex or after you have sex? Take the poll.
Number 1, frequency. As I briefly mentioned already, how often you fulfill your man's sexual desires plays a huge part in his overall satisfaction. It may or may not be something your man has communicated to you, but if he has told you that he wants more sex or would like to turn up the heat in a relationship and get intimate on a more frequent basis, then make a point to do so.
Alright, so tip number 1 is frequency. And she's basically saying, do what your partner wants in terms of frequency. She's assuming that you've communicated with your partner, or you maybe haven't because your partner's shy or just doesn't want to talk about those kind of things. But frequency, I mean, yeah, you should be doing what your partner wants if you want to provide good sex to your partner. So, not sure this is really like a groundbreaking tip for how to rock his world. I guess you're rocking his world by doing what he wants, which should be kind of self-explanatory. Should be maybe like common sense by now.
Him telling you this is a huge advantage. Why? Because he's telling you exactly what he wants and needs from you. Take some time to think about which of you usually initiate sex. If more often than not it's him, then it may be your turn to get things going.
She does make a good point about the initiator of sex. If the guy is always the initiator and you are not, then change it up because variety is a great thing and it'll keep your guy on his toes and it'll keep him excited. If either you never know what's coming and it's spontaneous and fun like that, then yeah, it could spice up your sex life if that's something you're missing.
Number 2, variety. In the beginning of your relationship, the sex might have been amazing, but even the sexiest, steamiest situations will lose their magic if done time and time again. In other words, if you're not mixing things up in your sex routine, then it's going to get stale.
So tip number 2 is variety. Add variety into your sex because she makes the point that no matter how steamy the initial sex was, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, eventually it will get boring, it will get dull. I totally agree. I kind of hit on this when I was analyzing her first tip of frequency. Variety is an important thing. No matter how amazing a sexual experience is, if you keep doing that same thing over and over again, you're just dwindling its sexual potential, if you want to call it that. And it's just going to reduce the quality of your sex over time. Try new things, change up the frequency like she said in the first tip. Have sex at different intervals, different times, different speeds. Sometimes be more sensual, sometimes be more rough, be more emotional sometimes, be more dominant sometimes, be more degrading sometimes, maybe if that's what you're into. Variety is extremely important. It's going to improve pretty much any sexual relationship, especially if it's not something you're currently doing.
Make a point to switch things up and introduce variety into your sex life. For instance, if you're usually on the bottom, then jump on top. If you always do it in the bedroom, explore a new space together.
Variety also hits on this psychological component where sex is exciting and it's new and it's fresh. The human brain is programmed to seek novelty in sex. It's one of the most stimulating things. It's one of the reasons why porn is so addicting and stimulating and exciting for people, because you're able to kind of get this novel sexual scenario in the blink of an eye, and that's what the brain wants. The brain wants new, exciting things. She mentions variety in terms of sex positions and timing of the day. I would go one step further and add in psychological variety, which is kind of what I mentioned before. Some days you are really emotional and loving with your partner. Other days you're really rough and dominant and controlling with your partner. And you're just kind of mixing up these different kind of sexual modes, these modes of psychological stimulation. That is where true variety lies, because there are only so many physical things you can do. But the scope of psychological things, of mental things that you can do to change the mental dynamic of your sex, the possibilities are endless with psychological stimulation.
Number 3, fantasies and fetishes. Whether he'll admit to it or not, every man has sexual fantasies. Of course, some of these he'll be more open to sharing with you than others, but if you can get your guy to tell you a little bit about his deepest, darkest desires, then you'll have a leg up and an opportunity to give him what he wants most. Being able and open to exploring your man's fantasies and fetishes will not only give the two of you an entirely new sexual experience to share together, but it also lessens the likelihood of him looking elsewhere for this sort of satisfaction.
So tip number 3 is fetishes and fantasies. This is a great tip. She hits on 2 really important things, which are communicate with your partner, find out what their fantasies are so that you can actually do them, but then also be open-minded enough to try them and be non-judgmental and just free to put yourself into these new situations. Obviously, don't do anything that you are extremely uncomfortable with. If there's something that's just absolutely crazy that you don't want to do ever, don't make your partner feel badly about having that fantasy, but just kind of do it in smaller steps. So don't take it as far as maybe they want to go. So if they're into extreme bondage, for example, maybe don't get completely tied up, but you can maybe try handcuffs or something that's not throwing you completely into the scenario if you're totally not comfortable with it. The main thing is that when people are expressing their fantasies and fetishes, do not ever make them feel judged for having these fantasies. That is the ultimate killer of any sexual relationship. Judgment is something that no one wants, especially something as personal as a fantasy or fetish when it comes to sex.
Don't be afraid to share your fantasies too. Telling your guy exactly what you want is not only attractive, but it'll also encourage him to open up to you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I say it all the time, communicate to your partner. People like when you talk about sex, and people like when you make an effort to learn about their sexual needs and desires. For some reason, people aren't doing this, I guess.
Number 4, intensity. This one goes hand in hand with my previous 2 points, being variety and fantasy. But the thing to keep in mind here is the type of sex you and your man are having. For example, is all of your sex slow and passionate, or is it fast and intense?
So tip number 4 is pretty redundant. It is intensity, and she hits on the variety thing, except this time it's like variety of how fast or slowly you're thrusting. Yeah, I mean, we've said it before, variety is important in sex. I don't think you have to parse out different types of variety. I think you can just kind of put it in that overarching theme of, yeah, variety is important. So I think we can kind of narrow this down to fewer tips to make your guy go crazy. To rock his world, that's what it was. Rock his world.
Showing your man that you enjoy sex is one of the best compliments you can pay him. Your pleasure will not only turn him on, but it'll also make him feel accomplished and proud.
Yeah, so if you're laying there motionless and quiet, no one is going to enjoy that sex. So yes, be expressive, express yourself, moan, vocalize, dirty talk, tell your partner if you like something, and yeah, go from there. People have sex for the entire experience. It's not just for the orgasm or the physical feeling of it. If that were true, then people would just masturbate only and they wouldn't really care about having sex in real life. Sex is about the entire experience. There's a physical component, there's a psychological component. The psychological component is more important for driving the quality of the sex. The physical component is also extremely important, but where your focus lies, the psychological part, is kind of what drives a better physical part. So if you're just laying there being boring and not engaging at all, that physical part is not going to keep your partner's focus as much as if you were going crazy, expressing yourself, showing how you feel, showing your partner that you enjoy the sex. That is going to keep them focused on the sex. It's going to keep them present in the moment, and then that is going to amp up the physical component of it. It's going to make everything feel much better.
Number 5, teasing. These days, it seems like everyone and their mother is busy with the tasks and duties of day-to-day life. In fact, sometimes even making time for sex can seem impossible. Regardless of how busy, tired, or not in the mood you may be, though, you should not only prioritize sex, but make time for teasing too. Engaging in foreplay will not only spice up your sex life, but it'll also do half of the work for you.
Finally, tip number 5 is teasing and what I like to call pre-sex communication. This is just, building anticipation. A point that I often like to make is that good quality sex is not just about the act of sex itself. There are factors before you have sex and factors after you have sex that are determining the quality of when you actually do have sex. So anything you can do to kind of build anticipation, excitement, that psychological aspect that I keep mentioning, anything you can do to kind of build that up and get your partner just going, their mind is just going crazy and they want you and they want to have sex really badly, that is going to help keep them in the moment during sex because it's been something they're thinking about all day. It keeps them psychologically stimulated, and that is a great way to improve the quality of your sex. So overall, how did she do? She did pretty well. I think a couple of her points are just subcategories of variety, ways to kind of change your method of sex. If you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again, then your sex is going to get worse and worse over time. It's going to get boring, and you both are going to be wishing that something changed. To sum up, I would say the key takeaways from her video are to communicate with your partner, find out what they like, and then do that, obviously. That is not that groundbreaking, or, it's common sense. The second point is to inject variety into your sex lives. That is going to improve it, especially if you are monotonously doing the same routine over and over again, having sex at the same time every day. Variety is going to completely amp up the psychological component of the sex. It's going to increase the excitement, increase arousal, and that is going to be the driving factor for better sex. The third thing she mentions is kind of this idea of setting the stage for sex, so doing things before you have sex that are going to actually amplify the experience. So that can be flirting, sexting, just teasing, anything that you can do to kind of build the anticipation. The more anticipation and excitement there is to have sex, the better it's going to be, because there's going to be that passion, that desire, and you guys are both going to be sucked into the moment, present, and just enjoying life. If you like this video and you would like me to react to more videos, let me know. Subscribe for daily sexual tip videos. Do me a favor and leave a comment below if you have any questions regarding sex. I will do my best to answer as many as I can. And until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.